we move on to talk about some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. And it's an interesting one that we start off with today. Liverpool are close to signing Valencia's Mamar Dashvili, the Georgian goalkeeper who had a brilliant European Championship. In my opinion, was probably the goalkeeper of the European Championship. Had a really, really good European Championship. Had a very good season at Valencia this past season as well. Liverpool close to signing him. Valencia and Liverpool right now, they're negotiating a deal for the 23-year-old, which will be around 40 million euros or so. He's 6'6" goalkeeper, and the deal is not finalized right now, but it's looking like it's moving towards it happening and it being successful. And Georgia, he helped Georgia reach the round of 16, and yeah, and it's also reported that he's gonna remain on loan at Valencia until the end of the 2024-25 season before he actually moves to Anfield next summer. Now, Liverpool, they actually have Alisson Becker right now, and they also have Keller as their backup goalkeeper. But I think, I assume the move is looked at as planning for the future, for when Alisson does leave the club. It's an interesting move for me in the fact that it's Alisson Becker is only 31 years old, which is not relatively old for a 31-year-old. And he's still one of the world's best goalkeepers. He's Alisson Becker right now, and he's gonna be one of the best goalkeepers in the world for the next 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. Because goalkeepers is relatively 31 years old. It's not old really for a goalkeeper, but Liverpool, they're planning for a future. They do tend to be clever in terms of that, in terms of planning for the future, in terms of a future replacement. But I do think Alisson, he's going to be the goalkeeper for a decent amount of time for Liverpool, as long as he wants to. So, but, it's good business for Liverpool. That can turn out to be a bargain. When you think about it in the whitescape, getting a goalkeeper who's 23 years old. Manchester City's Philip Foden has completed an individual award double. He's named the 2024 PFA Player of the Year, and this is actually 3 months after winning the FWA Footballer of the Year. Foden, he's actually became the 4th City player in 5 years to be voted as the Player of the Year. Kevin De Bruyne did it in the 2020 to 21 season. Erling Haaland did it in their Champions League winning campaign in 2023. Cole Palmer was he won the PFA Young Player of the Year, getting 27 goals and 15 assists in all competitions after his first season at Chelsea after arriving from Manchester City in the transfer window for around £40 million. And he scored a goal in the European Championship final that capped off an amazing year that he had at Chelsea. So yeah, deserved rewards there. And yeah, Juventus, they opened up their campaign with a 3-0 win over Como. To open up their Serie A campaign, Atalanta was able to defeat Lecce 4-0. Lazio defeated Venezia 3-1. Napoli got off to a very disappointing start under Antonio Conte, losing to Verona 3-0. Roma Cagliari 0-0. Stalemate. Bologna Udinese 1-1. Monza and Empoli 0-0. AC Milan and Torino drawing 2-2. Disappointing opening day result for Inter Milan as they drew with Genoa 2-2. And Parma Fiorentina also finishing stalemate 1-1. A lot of draws there. Wow, a lot of draws there. The only teams that won their opening day games was Atalanta, Juventus, Verona, and Lazio. a lot of draws in that opening day for Serie A, and I think Serie A is going to be a very interesting campaign this season. I'd like to see how Antonio Conte can revitalize this Napoli team. Disappointing start to that, obviously. Atlanta, we saw they came off the Europa League winning campaign. How did they build off that despite losing cup minors, despite losing key players to ACL injuries, specifically Scalavini and Scamacca? Juventus, this new look Juventus, forcing a lot of players out now with Thiago Motta coming in. We'll see how this team goes. AC Milan now with Paulo Fonseca in charge. Again, new look for them. Interesting to see how Christian Pulisic and the crew, And Inter Milan, how do they bounce back after winning their Serie A campaign last season? The fact that, the next step for them is, they won Serie A 2 years ago. Then there was a brief gap where Napoli won it, and then they won it again this past season. Can they win it back to back? That's the next step for Inter Milan, getting that back to back to really announce this sort of domination that they've had for this brief period in Serie A. Well, I'll be interested to see if Simone Inzaghi can start adding to the Inter Milan resume in terms of this current Inter Milan side. Because Lautaro Martinez, brilliant player, and Inter Milan, brilliant team. Raheem Sterling is with what happened, not being involved in the squad in the opening day against Manchester City, which is only going to get tricky now that João Felix is coming in the club. There was some interesting statement that came out of him, or came out of his representatives. Let's read that actually. Let's read the statement actually before I offer up my opinion. He returned to England. This is what they said. He returned to England 2 weeks early to conduct individual training, and he had a positive preseason under the new coach, who has developed a good working relationship with. He is committed as ever to deliver at the highest level for Chelsea FC and the fans who he holds in high regard. And given his inclusion in official club pre-match material this week, our expectation was that Raheem would be involved in this weekend fixture in some capacity. As a camp, we have always had positive dialogue with and assure from Chelsea FC in relation to Raheem's future at the club, so we look forward to gaining clarity on the situation. Until then, we will continue to support Raheem's desire to start the new season positively. When Amaresca was asked about it, he said the manager has to make some decisions. Sometimes players don't like it. That's normal. Just a technical decision, no more than that. Which is interesting. Now, Chelsea have their midweek battle now in the Conference League on Thursday night, taking on Servette in their first leg, which will be played at the Stade de Genève in Switzerland. Stade de Genève. And yeah, because in Raheem Sterling, he's actually been left out of the squad to face Servette in that midweek tie, which is going to raise even more questions, and it's going to increase the uncertainty surrounding his future at Chelsea. We've seen that Juventus, they've inquired about him, and yeah, at the end of the day, Chelsea squad is very, very bloated. And now with João Felix coming in, it's just going to become even more difficult for, João Felix, for Raheem Sterling to get into the squad. You already have the likes of Pedro Neto, Mykhailo Mudryk, Nicholas Jackson, Nkunku. There's a lot of players already at this club. It's very, very bloated, and it's a huge part of the mistakes that this club has made. So, yeah, I think the time for Raheem Sterling at Chelsea really needs to be coming for an end, because I don't think it's at this stage in his career. I don't think Raheem Sterling wants to be scrapping for minutes here and there. I think he wants to be a player playing game in, game out, a player that's to be relied upon the team. But thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sport Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content updates. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna